The election campaign that is set to change the world got a whole lot more interesting and much more of a contest when a clearly unwell Joe Biden finally handed the Democratic baton over to Kamala Harris. Biden clearly had to be dragged kicking and screaming out of the White House and out of running, but bizarrely believes he can stay in the Oval Office until January next year. He addressed the nation earlier in the week in an address that again shows how much his mental and physical faculties have declined him.
We've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, in this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans.
No one should take any pleasure out of that. I certainly don't. But it seems Joe Biden's determined to cling on and use his last 6 months in the role, reminding the world and the United States what a great patriot he is, how magnificent his 50-year political career has been, but also try to prove to US voters that he still is there helping out his predecessor, Kamala Harris. Now, she's wasting no time asserting herself into the election campaign. She's changed immediately overnight. And she had her first public appearance. She used it to have a crack at the character of her opponent, Donald Trump.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Nasty, but what can you expect? I mean, it's a partisan audience there. It sets the tone, really. Trump will paint Harris as a dangerous far-left Californian radical, while Harris will call Trump a fraudster with no regard for women who tried to overturn a Democratic election. This is a week on from that Republican convention, a much more even contest. And Republicans just might rue the day they ran so hard to force Sleepy Joe out of the race. Now, Kamala Harris also now has the authority of the presumptive candidate to be the new president, meeting today with Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu and holding a press briefing after that chat.
Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. As I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done.
Now, without reading too much into what she had to say there, you can pick up some of the fence sitting over Israel that you see back home here in Australia when Anthony Albanese or Penny Wong talk about Gaza. The real problem for Donald Trump now will be taking on a black woman as opposed to another old white guy. And the Republicans realise that, and they've now started with a series of attack ads.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point,
Do you plan to visit the border?
not today.
An 18-year-old illegal immigrant on a rape charge in Hicksville, Ohio.
Officials in Texas have seized more than 400 million doses of fentanyl.
Still no plans for Vice President Kamala Harris to go visit the border.
Pretty embarrassing for her, and she seems to have parked that annoying laugh already. Well, the Harris team, they've got an ad of their own, as you'd imagine, using pop star Beyonce's Freedom song and referencing gun violence, healthcare, and the big one in the United States, abortion rights.
No one is above the law. We believe in the promise of America, and we're ready to fight for it. Because when we fight, we win.
This is a very different contest now, and it proves the old adage, a week is a long time in politics, and it's going to be fascinating to watch.